Hello, everybody. Welcome to Survivor Buffs, Blindsides, and Banter podcast. This is a podcast made by superfans with superfans for superfans. I'm your host, Buckles, and with me I've got my mate, Mac. Mac, how you doing?
Bucks, my man, I'm doing fantastic. It is the penultimate episode is finished. We are on the doorstep of the finale, down to the final five. What an exciting in some ways. Penultimate episode, it was great. One of my favourites has gone home in Q. Love Q. Love what he was doing, and I'm sure we'll get into all that. But yeah, life is good. I'm still on holidays, as I was last podcast. Still up here in near Bribey Island, and off to Noosa tomorrow. So yeah, it just keeps on getting better and better.
Oh, life just sounds too sweet for you, mate.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. It's all from podcasting. It's just the doors get opened.
It's taken me places. I'll be honest. Like the people know me on the streets. So, no, they don't. But now they will with a video podcast. But
talking about people that people know, we have friend of the podcast, one of our favorite guests of all time. We have Adam Ritter. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. I can't believe the dreaded Survivor off season is almost among us, and it could be one of the longest off seasons in recent memory with no new versions for a while. Which yeah, it's gonna be an interesting few months from May to September, as I'm sure people sort of rumors fly, people try and posture, and pre-game alliances happen when returning play seasons, rumored or not. Yeah, it's a mess.
It is going to be good. We are excited to get some downtime, but at the same time, yes, we will miss Survivor.
Yeah,
technically there's some other shows to watch.
No, there's not. Yeah. What are you talking about? Survivor and Survivor only.
Well, it's all a buzz now. There's like with the Survivor 50 and then the Australia versus American season. There's a lot of talk happening on the online at the moment. So Survivor's the big buzzword at the moment. And you say the off season's coming up, but we do have some podcasts arranged for the off seasons, maybe some drafts for these returning seasons that we all want to see. So it's exciting times ahead, and I'm sure we can keep you entertained in those long off season months, Adam.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. I just, as 47 starts to film, I believe the filming got delayed a little bit. I just feel so sorry for 47, 48, and 49 because now that we know about Survivor 50, it almost feels like, what are we doing for the next, what is it? It's going to be 2.5 years before we see it actually happen. So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
Don't you think they got a huge advantage, but knowing that there's a returning season only 3 seasons away, in essence, a year away? Like, wouldn't you just make yourself the biggest, best character you can be? And if you're any sort of a midterm flame out, you're a huge chance to come back if you're the big character.
True. Well, I'm sure people try and do that anyway, right?
I guess,
if you're going to be a big character, everyone's the hero in their own story, and they're going to try and be a big character. And if you're not necessarily a big outlandish character, you probably don't know how to flame out, and the edit swallows you up anyway. So I'm sure they will try.
Guys, let's stop talking about the future. Let's talk about big outlandish characters. Let's talk about who we said goodbye to. R.I.P. Q.
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, no, really? Thanks. Nice input there, Mac.
Player of the season at the moment, leading the buff leaderboard somehow. Early on, dominated the game, dominated the airtime apart from Banu. I thought Q was... I'm not doing a eulogy yet, but it feels like I am. But I've loved everything Q's done. Like, he's just entertaining. Regardless if you like him or not, or you think his gameplay was good or bad, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, he's made Survive this season, which has been, a pretty hit and miss season, up and down, you'd say. At least he was the one constant that sort of drove the story, and it was something that we could all latch onto in terms of a personality to follow.
Yeah. Love to hate to love. Which camp are you in, Adam?
Oh, good question. I don't know if he's in the love to hate camp. I think he's still just in the one of the worst players of all time.
Wow.
Camp.
Well, he's winning the buff leaderboard, so he's not too bad.
I do not like you, and I think where it all kind of fell for me is, obviously you guys haven't had me on this season yet, but I think when he fake quit or tried to fake quit, I think that's when I really was like, oh, what are we doing here? Nothing brought me greater joy than to see him voted out by the cursed season 46 hidden immunity idol, and cement his place as one of the worst players of all time. Because no one can argue that someone who gets voted out with an idol is a good player. Like, I know these are maybe controversial rules for some, but I just think if you get voted out with an idol in your hand, there is no justification for that. It is a bad move. It's always been one of the worst moves you can do.
What do you think about that, Mac?
Well, we've discussed this over the last few weeks, Buckles, and you've disagreed with me completely. I've said just play the idol, especially when you know there's a split vote on you. Play the idol, and we've known it for the last few weeks. Who's been split on? I give Q a little bit of grace here because.
Do you now?
Which just I think they really tight-lipped the Maria Q plan from last week into this week. Maria and Q really had no idea about this. So as much as I think still play the idol, which he probably should have, let's be honest, in hindsight, there's only 2 opportunities to play it. If he plays it today, he probably gets voted out 5. So, but you give yourself a chance as an immunity run, and I've been saying just play the idols, but maybe because it's Q, I probably spare him a little bit.
I definitely agree that there are certain circumstances where players get voted out, and yes, if they played it, they would have been safe, but there was nothing that they could have done. They didn't know, stuff like that. Exactly like you said about Q today. He had absolutely no idea. He was completely gobsmacked, completely blindsided. Good on the other 4 people on the tribe. But I talk about the Gem, and I talk about even Venus, them playing it, not playing it, it could have gone either way, and it just didn't work out. With Venus, I thought she did something else wrong, and that was her conversation with Charlie. And Gem, it just turned out that she wasn't chosen. Her alliance wasn't chosen, and she made a play and it didn't work. So definitely Q here at final 6, being hated and always getting votes. Always, every single tribal council since I can remember, Q has gotten a vote, and he needed to play that idol here.
Yeah, I just think essentially he put his trust in Liz and Kenzie, which for him, he must have felt somewhat confident in their votes, which is somewhat crazy to me because him and Liz have been actively fighting. He literally denied her food several times. When someone tried to give up their award to give it to Liz, we didn't see this on camera, but I've heard this in the exit interviews. He literally said, "You cannot give it to her. I don't want her to eat." And then to ask her for your vote to vote for Charlie, maybe he's in his own mind got all this power over people, this persuasion, this charismatic guy, but I think they were just staying through his bullshit. And he sort of burnt Kenzie quite a while ago, and maybe he thought he still had that from the Janu days. So I can see why he didn't play it, but at the same time, they haven't really been voting as a cohesive unit together. If it was Maria and Maria let it down, that's one thing, but it wasn't. It was 2 guys who sort of in and out of your voting blocks. How can you trust that, especially at this stage when there's only 2 votes to go to play the idol?
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is. It's pure delusion and it's pure arrogance. Q is arrogant.
Grandeur.
Q is a big character, and I'm sure you can put him in the box of a coach in terms of the delusion we've seen. He's very similar in terms of that kind of play style. But I do think he thinks he's hilarious. He thinks cracking jokes about Big Mistake and Cancel Christmas. I actually did like Big Mistake. Cancel Christmas, I'm not really sold on. The thing is, he just thought he had way more sway than he actually did. And I want to go back to this idea of you said play the idol now. He could probably go at 5. I want to bring up, Ben Driebergen. People love to trash Ben Driebergen's win, but the man found idols, played them, and found them again. This is the thing. I think people are so forgotten about this season. It's once you get to the merge and these beware idols have kind of been removed from the mix, and it's just your regular recipe. You find an idol that's good, just replicate that sort of strategy if you can. Okay, so he was finding it again. I think, let's be honest, no one in the game really knew Venus had the idol or that she was voted out with it. We see that in the episode shown. So we have Q still kind of looking, and he finds one because it's been rehidden. But to me, it seems like if you have that knowledge that it's kind of still out there, just play it and find it again, and then there's one more vote, and then you're at 5.
Not to mention, look, Q is physically fit. Yes, he has not shown it in any wins other than a reward. But he goes into final 5. He takes out the immunity win. You've got to think of that next day. And I toss and turn between these idols because we've had so many this season. I toss and turn. Should they? Shouldn't they? Like, what were the pros and cons? What were the actual mistakes? And Q's was he's always getting votes. He's gotten votes every single time. Either way, he's the split vote. Just play the idol. Make yourself safe. Make yourself comfortable. Just play the idol.
The thing is, like, the whole season has been confident as his challenge piece. He's like, I can beat Hunter. I can do all these things. He always puts his hand up for the hero role. And in this moment of needing to show strength, he showed the weakness of, I'm not that confident in Final Five if I don't have an idol. So, which is strange for Q because he has this big bravado and it's like, well, bang. If he plays the idol, wins at 5 and wins fire, he could arguably win the game. If despite how much people hate him, that's a winning game right there for 3 votes in a row. Bang, bang, bang. So I think when he needs to...
Yeah, sorry.
Go on.
I was just going to say on that piece of it, I think that he is playing the perfect GOAT game. I think the minute he tried to quit at that tribal, his game was sunk and he was a GOAT. And then they still wanted to get rid of him because so many times you'll think, oh, bring the GOAT and they can sit in that third chair, but then that's a seat they're taking from you. And I think none of them wanted to bring a GOAT at this point because they all just, I don't know, there was kind of this collective understanding of that.
Especially a GOAT in Maria's pocket. Now, getting back to Q being a GOAT, I don't 100% agree with that. I think he was still seen as a threat because he dominated so much of the pre-merge/merge. And it wasn't till he did his quit shit, which, don't get me wrong, no one respected, but he's still in the game. He was copying votes the entire time. He was still part of moves, even if he wasn't instigating them. When Venus got voted out, we heard in an exit interview that Q was still a threat. Q was still a big threat. So I'm not 100% sure. We don't see it on TV. I don't think we would vote for him to win the game, but he survived a lot longer than a lot of people thought he would. So
I just don't see a permutation where he would win, but he doesn't beat Charlie, he doesn't beat Maria.
I think Ben and Liz next to Q is an interesting matchup. True. And if Q plays the idol here, wins the next challenge, beats someone in fire, he can claim that final 6 onward as his. He can claim the pre-merge as his. He can claim that first 2 votes of the merge as his. Really, he's been out of the loop for like 4 votes where he's been depowered, but he found his way back into power with Maria. So I think he's done a good way to claw back off the bottom from this position of like no respect because he self-inflicted that on himself. He lost the respect, but then he gained some power back. And you have to give it to him. You call him delusional, a useless player, a horrible player ever. What did you say?
One of the worst ever. Yeah.
He continually finds his way back into power, and you have to give that to him. I think that's a good attribute to have.
Is it power or is it just like there are other bigger targets? Because a lot of the times Q was going home, it was just like, but we need to get these other targets. And even this episode, that was the discussion. Like Maria would have gone if she didn't win immunity.
Yeah, definitely. But we also have, you think about the people that really, really hated Q, and it was Kenzie, Tiff, Ben, and Liz. If all of a sudden Q's next to a Kenzie and a Liz or a Liz and a Ben, there's only 2 people that hate him on the jury. So there were options for votes there. Whether, we'll find out in exit interviews, we'll find out deep dives that we're not going to get. We'll find out a whole lot of stuff in the future. But from the sounds of things, he was still threatening in the game. He wasn't a Jake. He wasn't an Owen. He wasn't going to the end and getting 0.
I don't think he was dead to rights because, like you said, he had Tevin on the jury, he had Hunter on the jury, he was friends with them. So we don't know. And if Charlie and Maria are sitting there with him, he's probably got Maria's vote. So that's 3 at least out of 8. You only need 1 more. And if 3 could win you it as well. So I don't think he was far away, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, well, we will never know.
Thank God.
And he's gone. He's gone. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Let's talk about who might fucking win this game. That's still in the game.
Well, where are you at, Adam? I mean, we've discussed it last week. Our winner pick is the same person at this stage. To me, it's almost obvious. What do you see?
This episode, I think, cemented that it is Kenzie. Hearing about the salon and the just the home, just the positive edit she's getting. I think it's hers to lose at this point. I think it's either a Kenzie or Charlie thing. Charlie may, like, if I had to predict the order, which I'm sure we'll probably do at some point in this podcast, I think Kenzie is beating Maria, I think, and Liz, maybe. And then
It's
you have
very
Charlie in
interesting.
the fourth place one. Yeah.
It's very interesting that all three of us are here saying Kenzie, and this is pretty much off the edit because what has Kenzie actually done in a season that big moves are a thing? Can you guys name me
Well, are
one
they? No
big
one's
move?
playing Idols. So how can big moves be a thing if no one's playing Idols?
Just tell me, has Kenzie done a big move? Is there like what's Kenzie say at the final? I got to the end.
No, I think in any era of Survivor, but especially this new era, you have to be likable. I really think likability is massive. And from what we've seen, everyone loves this person. She gets on with everyone. Her and Ben are like bonded for life after his night terror situation again.
Oh, that beautiful scene. I mean, again, like, come on, like, there's no way Ben's voting for anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think they showed that to show that Ben makes jury and that, yeah.
Oh, so I think Ben's coming to the end with Kenzie and losing to Kenzie. But
that could even happen too. But maybe it's more the other option that like Ben makes jury and gives her a vote.
Yeah, possibly. It's a locked up vote, so why wouldn't you vote him out if you're Kenzie? But I just think having this super likability, like she's the sweetest person. Like you can, it comes through the screen, honestly. And she's got Tiff on the jury, Q's on the jury now. I think he would still vote for her. They had their Yanu days. It was the hardest thing they've ever done together as a threesome. So there's 2 votes. If Ben's there, that's 3. I mean, she's extremely likable and. Despite not having moves, like I don't know how important that is when you're sitting next to other people without moves as well. E.g. a Liz, e.g.
a Ben.
Maybe a Ben, if he's not
even a Charlie, realistically, to a certain extent.
Well, they're not seeing what he's doing.
Ben's got the thing where he's like super likable socially, but then he has like moments of brain fog, which I don't think are enduring himself strategically enough to be like, oh, do I really want to vote for you? Like his messed up vote for Kenzie, while Kenzie handled that incredibly well, I just think it's a big knock on him for any sort of strategic argument he could make at the end.
Talking about brain fogs, can I take back my buff from last week? Is that okay?
You gave it to him.
I gave it to him.
Because you were like, maybe if this is something, and then he admits
me and Mac talked about it for quite a bit, and we genuinely, I believed like it was like a good move by the end of the episode, and I gave him the buff, and it turns out it was sheer luck.
But it made sense to throw a vote somewhere else. I thought it was weird that Ben threw it on Kenzie, like he's almost number one. Yeah. But I thought, well, you know what? If that's what he wants to do, that's his prerogative. He has a strategic mind behind that. Turns out he does not.
And it turns out I do not.
No, but you saw through. Well, I mean, you tried to. Yeah, okay. I think you wanted to give it to my winner pick. So.
It was for you, Mac. It was your birthday's coming up. I was just thinking ahead.
You know what, Buckles? I don't care what people say. You are a good bloke.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Look, I'll just say about Ben. Like, I just think like he is such an interesting player. I really respect, for instance, his fandom of music. Like he admitted that he doesn't like a Metallica album. Like I think that's also really important. Speaking of like, we've had a lot of Swiftie discussion this season, and I am a Swiftie, but I still think Taylor can put out bad music, and I think.
Can you name that on the podcast, please?
Oh yeah, 100%. I can tell you I really enjoy her latest album that much. So if you want to at me directly, I'm sure you'll be able to.
You heard it here.
But there you go. See, so if I had to rank her last album, I would say it's probably one of the worst ones that she's put out of the 11 that she's put out. So
wow, Taylor,
that's what
I'm
saying. Yeah,
she's a loyal listener.
She is deep down. But I just think that like. I know Ben. I find really interesting as a player, but he's giving me this kind of person that may make the jury, may make final tribal, and not really have an argument, and kind of be lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, no, I agree. Unfortunately, I think we can all agree to a certain extent. It's Liz and Ben that are drawing dead. I can't.
It's a shame because I actually like Liz, and I thought that the edit really dudded her. Like there's stuff they're not including about the whole. Applebee's discussion that makes it look worse on paper too.
Oh, possibly.
I'm not so sure. Like, I feel like
we're said that in exits, haven't they? What? They've said that. They put music behind her. They put Dodo music behind her to make it really seem quite bad. And then they've also included at the last challenge. I don't think she actually wanted to go on that food reward. but they tried to make it seem like she wanted to. Like, I think she said this
Okay.
on Twitter and stuff, which is, again, probably why people shouldn't be allowed to tweet about the season as it progresses. I, as a lover of drama and mess, think they
Oh, fuck
should.
yeah.
And it's been amazing on Twitter this season, seeing the back and forth between some of these players. Like, they still really hate each other. And that's what I love about Survivor. I don't want everyone to be friends afterwards. I think that's stupid.
We've got a real Gabon jury coming up. A very Sue Hawk style.
Love it.
Oh,
Can someone
Randy.
give me a Corinne style speech?
Or Randy, yeah.
Out of
Don't make
10.
me vote for Susie, please. I love that. That's the
Oh my
best.
God. I still can't believe she has gotten more votes than a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
people forget
Almost won the game.
Susie could have won by
Wasn't there one vote in it? Yeah. Anyway, let's not go
There
back to
was.
Gabon.
Anyway.
But
best season.
yeah, it's a mess. But
It's a mess. It's a great season. But if you're looking for mess, Gabon is your season, guys. Go back, rewatch it. It's fucking fantastic.
But it's funny because you think of, like, even in the scheme of things, like, this has been compared a lot to Gabon, right? Like, 46 as a whole has been compared a lot to Gabon. Lots of messy players, bad players, maybe crazy personality types, lots of, like, really, like, strong drama. So I think it'll end up in a similar spot in terms of how it's received. Even Titans versus Rebels was compared to Gabon, but I actually don't think it's like that much.
Oh, not at all. I don't think.
Not at
But I've rewatched Gabon not long ago, and it is so enjoyable to watch back because it's so much fun, and it's actually really funny to watch.
Yeah.
Which I think, as an entertainment product, that's all you're after. If you want to look for, like, pure survival with great strategy, that's fine. But it's probably not as entertaining as just watching a fun TV show.
I know
Sure.
it's been a while, Adam, since you've been on the podcast, but Mac here has now switched completely. That Survivor strategy is boring, and he only.
Oh, he's
likes
no longer a game bot.
characters
But see,
only.
I'm here for more than that sometimes.
No,
Most
but
of the
I feel
time.
like
Characters.
this season it's grown on me, but there's still parts of it that I'm like, like, not like 3 or 4 episodes ago, we watched full-grown adults play hide and seek for what felt like half the episode. So, this, and then even this episode, I feel like the fixation on rewards, I did tweet about this, feels very old school to me in a way. And I want to bring up this idea with you guys. Like, I feel like back in the day, they really used to stress, like, rewards matter, who you take on the rewards matters. And then as the gameplay kind of ramped up and there were more, like, other, I think, more interesting things happening as the game evolved, that kind of fell by the wayside. And it almost feels like now, because of all the gameplay stuff that Jeff has tried that has not led to really fun moments, and it's kind of just stuff that people complain about. And with the extended 90 minutes, it's almost like with the rewards now that aren't as good as they used to be because of the budget, they still need to fixate on this idea that they matter and that it's going to be the be all end all and it's going to determine who votes for who. Like, which it's fair enough. They should have an impact. I mean, Maria's decision of rock, paper, scissors, I think, has actually brought her down quite a bit in my estimation as a player. So, yeah, like, what do you guys think about that?
It is interesting, like you're saying that, and it's like rewards were brought in for a certain reason, and it was to cause drama. And after all this new stuff that we've tried in the new era, the rewards is what's causing the drama. I don't believe it's a be all and end all. I don't think like it definitely like there is basic strategy to it, and it's don't bring your best friend. If you stick to that, you're pretty much okay.
Yeah, but they agreed to it. They agreed to it. And then we still have like 20 minutes of Maria being like, oh, but I really want to let it for my kids. I also, and this may be controversial because, I mean, Mac, you have kids. Do you think that entitles you to letters from home more than someone like myself who, doesn't have a significant other or,
I do feel like entitled is the wrong word, but I feel like you should have more of a heart for a parent. I honestly do.
Of course, I do.
I understand. But but from the point of you two who don't have kids, I could understand why that wouldn't matter to you because before I had a child, I didn't get it. And until you have a child and you realize that like they literally become your whole world and you just want to see them all the time and going a day without them is a long time. To go 23 days or whatever with no food, no sleep, you're with all these people who are backstabbing you and you want that comfort from home. I can get it. But before I had a kid, I wouldn't have got it. So I don't blame anyone who doesn't take them. But if you did take someone, that would earn a lot of goodwill from that person. So I think it's in your benefit to pick that person, regardless if you're friends with them, if you want them to vote with you, you will earn some goodwill from that for sure.
Yeah, but then, so that I totally get. But then it was the behavior from the previous episode compounded with that really didn't sit well with me. It's like, fair enough if she didn't make people rock off to go on a reward and then in the same breath be like, but I really want to go on one. That's where it's not sitting right. It's a bad look.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I thought Charlie actually handled it pretty well, and the people who picked in Liz and Kenzie, he knows he can't pick Maria, and Maria knows he's not going to pick him. He doesn't want to pick Maria anyway because they're sort of starting this war, which Maria doesn't know about at the time. And then he can't pick Q because no one likes Q, and it's fine to not pick Q. So he's sort of got to pick between Ben, Kenzie, and Liz, and he's already got Ben on his side. So he's sort of picked the right two to guarantee that they can vote with him. We talk about rewards being more important nowadays. Whether they are or not, I'm not 100% sure. But in a season where the food is so limited now, there's 26-day seasons, they're given nothing. I think food rewards are big, and it's a way of like jury pandering already. Like you're just building goodwill with everyone, and whether it's for a vote or for a vote at the end, I think they might come into play, and especially this season because we've seen like the emotions that come out with Liz, with Maria, at these rewards, picked or not being picked, and when Maria is rocking off and stuff, it causes all these emotional things to come up. So I think rewards do play a part nowadays, more than we've seen for a long time.
I think production want them to because again, like you said, it's this because of the 26 game, because of less food, like they want them to matter more, right? Like they want them to be like, they really want the food. They want them to be really starving. Whereas I'm just kind of like, and that feels very old school in a way because it's like, oh, we want them to survive, but it's almost like, but we're still not seeing all the footage around getting food at camp or like living at camp because the game's sort of moved past that. So it's almost like this mechanism of the reward is the solver for it. But then also it's like, and then Jeff loves the decision making of like, it's gut wrenching, like we've spent so much time on picking a player and a reward than we normally ever would. So it's, I just think it's an odd mix. Like I'm not sure if the recipe is fully realized or right. But I guess if you've not much else to go on, I feel like that's what they're focusing on to like fill out the time. And I would prefer this over a hide and seek game.
Yeah, I think it sort of comes back like we were talking like a minute ago. You said like Mac hates
strategy.
It's the strategy of the game now. And I think with all the game bots in the recent seasons, it got a bit stale. But I think this season, like we've talked about this Gabon style, there's so many different types of people. There's so many emotional people not playing optimally, which is great. So I think rewards take on a bit of an extra important because when there's game bots in the season, people can see through being taken on a reward. Being taken on a reward is not that important when you're a game bot because you can see through it and see the game they're playing. But when you are this emotional person, you put stock in that. You put stock when someone gives you something, when someone helps you out. So I think it may come down to that then where, what have you done for me lately? What have you helped me with this game? I will vote for you. Whereas in the past, when there's so many game bots, they wouldn't appreciate that as much because it's not in their metric.
Yeah,
true.
That's fair.
That's totally fair.
I'll agree with that. All right, let's get past this reward crap. Let's move on. We've discussed rewards more than we've discussed challenges in this season. More than
because they matter. It's like the bulk of the episode.
I know.
The votes aren't that interesting.
Let's talk about the actual strategy of this episode. And obviously Maria wins again. So is Q's the right move here for everyone? Who was it the wrong for? Who fucked up here and who didn't?
Yeah, well, it sort of came down to essentially three pairs is the way it was portrayed to us. It was Q and Maria, it was Charlie and Ben, it was Kenzie and Liz. And at first you probably think, oh, Charlie's in the swing vote. But then it sort of turns out that Kenzie and Liz are sort of in the swing position. They're getting, seen from both sides. We're going for Charlie, we're going for Q. Who are you going to go with? So somehow Kenzie and Liz, seemingly on the bottom with nothing to work with, have all the power this episode, which I thought was really interesting. I thought, you vote out Q, and this smoke screen that we've had for 3-4 episodes now, where it's always going to be Q, and then we send someone else home. That's gone now, and it sort of exposes
Charlie and Maria like a motherfucker.
Charlie and Maria, but here's the thing: I don't know if it exposes Charlie as much as we think it does, because Charlie's not seen as the one running the show, and even in this episode, who comes up with the idea to vote out Q? It's not Charlie. Charlie pushes it onto Liz and Kenzie at the reward. They're the ones that say it. So I think it won't get any blowback from Charlie. And while I thought that Charlie had mentioned this episode that if we vote out Q, Maria becomes a swing vote in between the two. I don't think that's the case because I just think Maria is the big threat now and everyone sees it. They don't see Charlie for what he's doing and he doesn't get any credit for this move. So
who does get credit for this?
I think it's fine for Charlie. I think he's still got a tough path to get to the end. I don't think he's going to make the end. I'll stand by that. But I don't think he's next to go.
No. Who does get credit for this move, Adam?
Well, I think it has to be. I don't know if it's Liz. I don't know if Liz can make the argument. I think it's more Kenzie, I guess, really, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Liz has voted for Q, I mean, for the bulk of the last few trials. I mean, to be fair,
she worked with him once.
No, yeah, she worked with him once. She did vote out Tiffany and Venus. She got those votes right. So I do think it's kind of this it's almost like, I'd argue no one really gets the full credit for the move because in a way, Q's been this move for so long.
Yeah.
It's almost just like that just being realized. And so I think Q gets the credit for Q because Q only started getting votes in that episode that he tried to quit. So
he would take the credit too.
He will take the credit.
He would take
so I'm going to say that.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Look, I think the work was more on Kenzie and Liz, obviously having a lighter, talk to both sides and lie to one of them. Obviously, we saw that they were only lying to Maria and Q, but whether they made the decision straight up would be interesting because, Charlie being a vote is definitely enticing. We didn't see them even think about it, but I feel like that's at least something you give a second thought to, especially with Q in his game. But this was a lot of fun watching them just sit in the middle, lie to one side, and know that they were good on the other.
Yeah, I think. Now I'm not a massive edit reader, but I do think that conversation happens after the Q vote. I think they sit there, they realize it's one of them next at Final Five, and they're talking about their games and you'll see my family and this and that. It was so nice. It was good to see the confessionals cut in between and they're going for each other and we love each other. And it was a really good a scene cut together. Yeah. But I don't think this happened before this vote. I just don't know why it would. I don't think Maria wanted Charlie to know that they're coming for her and vice versa. And I think it was so obvious having this conversation at the time. Whereas if they have it next episode, where it's obvious that Maria's probably next on the block and that, maybe Charlie's the alternate option, that would make a lot more sense. What are your thoughts on that? Am I just overreading this or?
I honestly didn't even consider it, but you give me good reasons to believe that's the case. But I do feel like I want to. Maybe I'm too in La La Land where I'm production never spliced. No, I know they spliced, but I don't think they spliced to that extent. I feel like they're pretty.
It's
good
not Australian
to Yeah, exactly. They're pretty good at containing things within the episode that it appears. Yeah. I don't feel like they're big fans of including conversations that don't happen in some sort of chronological set. Okay. I don't know where it happened in terms of the 3 days that this episode took place or is purported to have took place, but I don't feel like it took place after.
Okay, no, that's fair. It just felt that way. If you had watched this next week, this would feel so natural, whereas it sort of felt a little bit forced, like they wanted us to build this up a bit more. Because it was before the challenge as well, before Maria had even won. So it felt like, this is it, make or break. And then Maria wins and it beats this big dramatic moment. Maria's foiled the plans of Charlie. What's going to happen? Is Charlie going to go? And I thought he would because Q was going to play the idol. And I don't want to skip.
But I've done this a lot. It's always happened throughout time, right? When a duo breaks up, it's always been this sort of case of we have this conversation and it's very acted out, I'm with you. Oh, it'll be so great afterwards. We're besties, love each other, kiss, kissy, kissy. And then, and then you do hear in confessional the back and forth. I feel like
do you think these conversations happen often when they're saying how much they love each other, or does that only happen when you're about to vote each other out?
Only when you're about to vote each other out.
Yeah, there you go. So we know that as fans.
Only shown when you're about to vote each other out.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe you say you love each other a lot as you go throughout the game, because you do it. You do it to endear trust, right? Because you're you're my number one in this game. I love you to bits. There will be those conversations, but they're only included when there's a bit of stabby
when it matters
to happen. Yeah,
to build drama. Just while we're touching, I wanted to go forward to the actual vote where we actually saw all the votes, and I thought. It's set up for the Q idol. It's like a double bluff from the editing. We'll show you all the votes, but then Q will play the idol. And Charlie, I was shocked that he didn't play it because I thought, we've seen the votes. So what? It must.
Yeah, normally they show the votes and idol gets played. They show
exactly.
Did they show
good editing?
A single vote?
I was
Even then?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I just could not understand. Like, we're there and they like led us up to waiting for Q to play the idol and they double bluffed us again.
Yeah.
Like, it was so.
It's
How
great,
does he
great
not play
drama.
the fucking idol?
I honestly, watching it back, I just had a feeling like the minute he found the idol, because obviously not a Q fan, I was like, oh my God, here we go. And then I had a
Someone's
second
going to
thought.
play
I
it
was like,
correctly.
no, I had a feeling that he wasn't going to play it correctly, because I was like, this idol's cursed. Literally, I think they could do a Ghost Island 2 just based off the idols of this season. They don't need, like, Jeff, you can go back to Ghost Island, even if you think it's a hokey theme now, because this is like, there's some curse mumbo jumbo. But so I thought somehow he was going to mess it up, and he did. So, but yeah, I can see, and I love the idea of that double bluff and the editors playing with us a little bit like that. It's always good when they get those moments at Tribal, because Lord knows, I think sometimes Tribal can get a bit too press conference-y. It feels like no one ever says anything and no one wants to give the game away. So the meat and the best part of the Tribal can be, after the vote, when anything can happen. And nothing did.
I thought this tribal council was extremely bland. Like, we haven't had a bland one for a while, and this has felt extremely like mid-30s, where everyone talks and says nothing. I usually take notes on, the episode. No notes on tribal council. Nothing was said at all. At all.
Nothing of substance.
Well, I think there's not much narrow. Just on that quickly, I just don't think there's much switching happening at this point. I feel like we know the pairs. We kind of know what's going to not happen, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm excited because it's a Survivor finale, but I don't think this Survivor finale is very exciting from a anything can happen kind of perspective. It does feel like, like we say, there's like two main players, and it's all about who wins the challenges, right?
But I mean, Gabler also won a season, so things can happen.
True.
Yeah. Look, things do happen, Erica. But it has been pretty clear by the penultimate episode who's probably going to win the season. Throughout the,
I would love to be wrong.
What? We'd love to be wrong.
I'd love to be wrong, because I feel like having three of us on the exact same page with Kenzie win, it's not good. And I feel like the Survivor editors are great at telling the wrong story to get you to get sucked in. And are we getting sucked into this wrong story of Kenzie, or are we smart enough to see through the wrong story and see the right story of Kenzie? It's going to be fun.
We do have a platform to talk about it, so we do study the show to a certain.
That's what I think. I think once you become like a super fan, I don't feel like this is ever talked about, but it's almost like when I used to watch the show more casually, I used to get more surprised. And obviously, obviously it was 20 versus 46, right? But I also think like I have it sounds braggy, right? Like I've become so good at reading the edits, I'm rarely ever surprised. But it is like when something genuinely surprises me, it's extra special to me, because I'm always like, wow, I got the completely wrong read based on what the editors tried to give me. And I just feel like this series, I'm not going to get that. And that's fine. I accept that that's the base level that I get. And then when I do get an episode that surprises me, that's the Survivor I know and love.
Well, I'll pose a question to you then. If you want to be surprised, we were surprised with Erica and Gabler, but everyone was so unhappy. Would you rather be surprised and unhappy? Like, what do you want? No. You can't have both.
No, because surprised and unhappy is Michelle beating Aubrey. And yeah, like you said, or Gabler
totally
beating Cassidy.
Warranted winner.
Right?
Warranted win.
or Erica, I actually could get around because...
Even Gabler I can get around.
Yeah, I can get around Gabler.
And I actually picked Gabler going into that finale, just so.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I did.
But I just think that, like, so yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on the group. And it's funny because, like, compared to 45, I didn't actually like a lot of this cast. And the people I liked, it's almost like I like my estimation of them went down a bit. Like, I liked Hunter a lot at the start, but I feel like towards the end, he really kind of, and Maria the same. And then, and then the people that I'm kind of left with, I'm like, yeah, they're like fine, nice, reasonable people, but I'm not really like wowed by them. Like Charlie, I guess, kind of, but I feel like I've seen his archetype better and enjoyed that story a little bit more.
I want to jump in on you. I think that's why this season has gone up in the rankings. Like, that's why this season is so interesting, is because I guess there's no one to love.
Yeah, no one
like there isn't, and that's sort of like there was Banu that fucking
because he took all the screen time. All the unlikable people,
which was great.
Sucked up all
which
the
was
screen
great.
time. I do actually genuinely like Liz as a person. I'm probably the minority on that. I do genuinely think her reaction to the Applebee's thing was genuine, and like the allergies thing. I hate people being saying like, why should she go on the show if she has all these bloody allergies? I think people need to get in the box on that. I also think it's quite interesting that she's gotten some of this backlash, considering a lot of people in the past have been so um hands off around other players and like, oh, we need to be nice to them, this, that, the other. Yeah, we don't afford Liz that same thing. But I mean, overall, yeah, but none of them are like, I've not been wowed by the gameplay of any of them in a way that makes me think if they came back for a season, that would be someone I'd be excited to see play again. You mentioned Q as a possibility for Survivor 50. I mean,
Locked in.
Possibly. Well,
He'll be locked in.
Q's the only person I'm thinking out of this season.
Well, I mean, from this season,
if I see Banu again, I'm done.
I'm done too. If Banu even gets Sia money in the aftermath of the finale, I would hope not. If Sia, I will burn a Sia CD. go to the JB Hi-Fi, buy a Sia CD and burn it. I think Venus possibly, because I feel like we don't really get in her archetype. We don't think really Venus get someone like her. Herself. But I think she should. But
like you said, I think
Anyway,
okay. Like you said, I think even Charlie arguably is like the player of the season at this stage. You would say, if the average person on the street would say he's winning, whereas I guess the superfans can see through it. But even if he came back, like I'm not excited by Charlie as much. Like he's popped in the last couple of episodes, but early on I'm like, I've seen this guy before. It's the same guy we've seen every other season. So it's a bit cookie cutter, and he's like, okay, he's playing optimal and he's doing a lot of good stuff, which are really subtle, but there's no like wow moves or anything. Like it's a lot of subtle stuff which combine to make a great game. But I don't know if he is like, I'm not excited from him. Like he doesn't wow me at all.
People could argue that he's the D of last season. He's, say, the Jesse Lopez from 43.
Oh, Jesse had a little more impressive to him. Jesse's got. Jesse,
let me finish.
Sorry.
Like that's sort of the character type that he is for this season. But there's nothing there. Like there's nothing of substance. We look at those other players and we think they were like the main characters to that certain point in the game that they either got out or won, etc. Yeah. Whereas, and he has been in this post-merge. He has been the main character, but not a lot's actually come out of it.
Yeah.
There's
nothing that I can say that is so fucking fantastic I would want to see him again.
But then do we also think that that's format? Like, do we feel like because like the merge takes so long to actually get going with the split camps and the earn the merge and all of it, normally from the merge proper start, you get to see that kind of strategy evolve and you get to see more decisions. I just feel like because of the format decisions, there's not a lot of agency that the players start to have, and then you get these end games that aren't as interesting as such. Like, and because we've had these distractions to, like, the pre-merge was a complete mess. Like those first 5 episodes not really great, and then you have the merge, the first 3 episodes not really great either because of the twist. So because this season has gotten more interesting as we go towards the end, just on the back of the characters, no wonder Charlie gets lost as this like strategic focus, because like everyone's saying, the strategy's not really there.
That's not very good.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, like Ricard had the same thing, and he was somewhat dominant until the finale. Jesse, you said, Omar, like there's players that can still rise above the pack, and I think without a swap pre-merge, it sort of lends itself to pretty boring gameplay, and there's not really opportunity to do anything, especially if you're in a dominant tribe, which Charlie was. They never went to tribal council. They went once before the merge, so one chance to get out someone that everyone was sort of on board with. And then, like you said, they got the early twists of the merge, and then I think having this Q smokescreen sort of stifled gameplay. Like it was sort of use Q as a smokescreen, and we vote out who we want, and they sort of had the numbers. And you might be getting numbers here and there and keeping people in and out of plans, but that's not that much fun to watch in terms of like, great gameplay. So he's played well, but it's not been exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I hope moving forward, like, I mean, we know it's 3 tries, probably locked in for the foreseeable, but maybe I hope with the decision to start filming a little bit later, I believe it was to avoid the cyclone season for 47.
Okay.
Next week we actually won't get a preview for Survivor 47, right? Because we won't have it
Never
filmed
started.
at all. So that'll be interesting too. Like, I wonder what they do, how they show it, what they choose to include or not include. Does the auction even come back? After the backlash of not including it in back-to-back seasons. So I think that'll be interesting in terms of where we go from there. But I mean, obviously, Survivor finale is still going to be exciting, and like you said, anything can happen. But I feel like whoever wins won't really be remembered, even in terms of new era winners, as like one of the best winners of the new era or anything like that. I mean, I could still see a respectable winner coming out of this season, but
for sure. I think if Kenzie wins, Kenzie is the type of player that could play again and do well most times. She's got that sort of unique, like just a varied skill set where everyone is likability. She's got a bit of everything, and I think she's just the type of player that would be successful. So that, like, she's the only one that I could see like playing again. Like, I mean, they could all do well, but she sort of stands above everyone, I think.
Yeah. All right, guys. This has been a lot of fun, but let's start talking about what we discussed last week.
I have that written down this time, which is handy. Okay, so I have said, so we'll just go through predictions from last week, Adam, then we'll make predictions for next week. Yeah, sure. So last week I said that Maria will be voted out unless she wins immunity, in which case Q will get voted out.
Okay.
Boom.
Boom. Bam. Finally,
ding, ding, ding.
Someone's got it.
Mate, is it getting better? Maria win immunity, tick. Q get voted out, tick.
Well, it's easier when there's less players, right?
Well, a little bit. I guess you could say that, but let's not nitpick at them. Like, it's hard.
No, of course not. Still hard to predict. Absolutely.
Still hard.
Well, I did better than our friend Buckles here. Let's see what he had to say.
Let's hear what he had to say.
So you just said, I agree with you. I think it'll be Maria and then Q, as in the 6 and then 5. But it needs to be Q and then Maria for Charlie to win the game.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think Charlie can't win now then? Q's out, Charlie can't win?
I think if I didn't read the edit so well, I genuinely would believe that Charlie had a chance to win this game. And it's literally as simple as winning fire.
Well, you seem to think last week.
We had a fire-making scene this episode. Didn't someone say,
Maria kicks ass at fire. Maria kicks ass at fire.
Yeah, they included that. Yeah, I think you must have missed it in the shuffle.
Interesting.
Which makes me think that Maria is winning fire and making it into the final 3 that way, maybe.
Well, let's get into this now. Let's get into this on next week on Survivor. What do you think, Adam? What's happening next week?
All right, I'm going to absolutely tell you. I'm going to save you guys the 3-hour finale. And you can just listen to my prediction, all right? Because in 5th place, if Maria does not win immunity, she will go home. But I do think Maria will win immunity. And I think instead, in 4th place, you will see Ben go. In 5th place, you'll see Ben go. And then at the final 4, you will see someone like Charlie win immunity and put up Maria and someone like, let's say, who would be the worst at fire from that? Let's say Liz. Maria beats Liz at fire. Liz goes home. It's a final 3 of Charlie, Kenzie, and Maria. And Kenzie wins.
I would love to see that final 3. That is an epic final 3 from what we have.
Yeah.
That is the best. Okay. Nathan, tell us what you think. What's going to happen?
I don't see it at all that way, because when you're given sort of 3 chances to win the game in Charlie, Maria, and Kenzie, only one ever makes it to the end. So I just think now we've got this 4 who voted against Q this episode. Maria's the target. When you have a 4, you can go to the end with 4 people. You don't need to go to the end with 3. You can go to 4 and just say, well, 2 of us are making fire, and that's fine. So I do think this 4 will stick together. I think Maria will go out first, unless she wins immunity, but I'm not going to contingency plan for that. Maria goes out first. I just don't see Charlie in the final Tribal Council, because I don't think he's going to win. And I think if he gets to final Tribal, he probably does win. So I think he goes out at fire. Who beats him? No idea. But I'm going to say Ben. And then so it's a final 3 of Liz, Ben, and Kenzie. Kenzie wins. Ben maybe gets a vote somewhere. He comes second, and Liz comes third. That's my predictions.
I don't think he gets a vote. I think it's unanimous. I'm going to continue the whole unanimous thing. I feel like unanimous votes will.
Okay.
Like even in a Charlie, Maria, Kenzie finale, like I predicted, Oh, that would probably be the only permutation.
That would be split.
That it would.
Yeah.
It would be split. Yeah.
Look,
I think unanimous for Kenzie against Ben and Liz is probably on the card.
Pretty safe.
Yeah.
Look, so I came in thinking the exact same thing that Mac was thinking, the exact same. But now, literally hearing you say it out loud, who wins individual immunity at 4 if Ben and Charlie don't? What
Ben might put himself in. Or Charlie might put himself in. I don't know. I don't know.
I think we're done of the putting yourself in. I think that's done. I don't think the jury respect it anymore. I think people are over it. Like, I think that decision is no longer a thing.
Okay. We saw Heidi in 44 did it. Didn't really pay off for her, but I think she broke the record
she's
for
a mum, and mums don't win the game.
Is that right? Well, Kenzie's almost a mum. Buckles revealed last week on the podcast. Kenzie's pregnant. Not a mum at the time, but so she can win.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. So she can win. Whereas Maria, the episode was literally called Mama Bear. I thought it was going to be about. I was surprised the quote came from Maria, but that's why I wanted to root for her in terms of because I know so many times the mum archetype is given this bad thing at the end. It doesn't get the credit that they sometimes truly deserve. But then Maria, she's
getting it.
Yeah, she is absolutely.
She is definitely. Look,
all right, Bucks, official predictions, mate. What do you got?
My official predictions is I say the same as Mac, but I just in my head I can't see why it's happening and how it happens.
Go out on a limb, mate.
Well, then who wins the challenges? Tell me who wins the challenges.
Yeah, get specific.
So Charlie wins the challenges at 5 for Maria to go home. At 4, it's a Kenzie win. It's got to be a Kenzie win. That's the only way I see it. And Kenzie, I couldn't even tell you what type of challenger will be to win.
No, it's an obstacle course. Everyone keeps saying there's too many obstacle courses on American Survivor.
Endurance, Charlie would win endurance.
Yeah, he would.
Endurance. That's true.
Anyway.
Do you think we get Samotion? Do you think we get,
that's literally that's what I'm thinking. It's Samotion with Kenzie just whips it, like pulls it out of the park or some shit. Charlie fucks.
We had Samotion in 42. Have we had it since 42? If not, it's probably due.
Did we have it 44 with Jam?
I think we did.
He didn't win the challenge, did he? No, Heidi won the challenge.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that was Samotion, wasn't it?
Was it? I can't remember.
Don't quote me on it. I think I remember us talking about it.
Right. Okay.
44. Heidi did win it.
Bam.
Final immunity. So we've had it for 42, 44, and 40, and 38.
Oh.
I think we're getting Samotion.
We're getting Samotion. Samotion's coming back, baby.
Looks like there's a pattern there. Okay.
And it was,
so who wins Samotion then?
Kenzie wins Samotion, and me and you are correct.
Okay.
Done.
Love that for us.
All right, guys. Let's start talking about Q. Let's eulogize the hell out of Q because he deserves it. Because he got enough screen time that he deserves us talking about him for another 20, 30 minutes.
Absolutely he does.
I'm going to just kick this off. Q, as a character, fan-fucking-tastic, very enjoyable. I can't say that I loved him, but I loved his character. And I loved seeing him on my TV, but hated his character. It was enjoyable. It made me want to watch the show. I think without Q in this season struggles like really badly. This season really, really struggles, and it gets put at the bottom of the new era list without Q. As a player, there were definitely things there. He plays from the top quite well. He can't hold the top, but he plays from the top quite well. As we saw at the start of the merge. You can't say that the +1 alliance wasn't an awesome thing, even if it only lasted 2 votes. And then what's is the Q skirt, obviously, is his memorable moment. Have you got a Q skirt? Oh, I should have worn my Q skirt. Just wait.
Here's the thing. I've worn my jumpers when it's been too hot like that for years. Not the other way around, like the way he wears it, because that's asinine. And the fact that it's called a Q skirt it's just dumb in like the worst possible way. But anyway,
get a Q skirt.
It's so useful.
Skirt.
It's efficient. It's useful. It's
for what?
It's an apron.
For what? Pockets everywhere.
Anyway, and will he return? Yes, he will return. think 100% he'll return. Whether you want him to return or not, Adam, is
first
not,
boot
he
of
will
Survivor
return.
50. First boot of Survivor 50.
I could say that, yeah.
No.
Adam, let's make a shit sandwich. You go second to sort of bring him back down, and I'll pump him back up to finish. Go.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll say this. I don't necessarily believe the season would be worse off if Q leaves earlier. I think in a different world where Q and Banu were some of the boots of the purple tribe of doom, and Gem somehow survives, I still think we can get a fun, interesting season with more of a focus not on this purple tribe.
Hang on, just for the listeners on the podcast,
Buckles
has got a Q skirt on now, and it looks fantastic. I will say that is how good does he look in a Q skirt? He's got pockets. His hands are warm. He's dancing around. Love that for you, Bucks. Sorry, Adam. Continue.
I love it.
Adam with a look of jealousy on his face.
Seriously, I am jealous. I think put Q on Shark Tank and get him on my screen. No, I'll stand on my business. I will say that he just came across as one of the worst players, just woefully inexperienced, a typical delusional player who thinks they know how things are going in the game. And I think other people kept him around because he was a number. And I don't think he actually had anything positive to contribute to the actual game. I think, he had some funny moments and that's where I'll leave it. And I'm sure we'll see him again, but I hope he doesn't last. I hope people get rid of him pre-merge because they do not want to live with him. But evidently they seem like he's fun enough to live with. So it's different from another character who's delusional and a nightmare to live with, which I think helps him.
Like a Phil Shepherd.
Yeah, exactly.
He's at least he's a jovial sort of man. He's trying to make jokes. He's making Q skirts. He's a businessman as well. So, look, as a player, he had a lot of flaws. He was, somewhat arrogant. He was, you say inexperienced. I mean, they're all first time players. So let's not weigh him down.
Yeah, but then some people have like a natural experience and knack for the game. Like, let's be honest, this man's a recruit.
So he's not a game bot. Is that what you're saying? Perfect. No, that's what we want.
But again, recruits can be great. Like Ferris was a recruit. Like had barely ever seen the show, or like had only seen an Australian Survivor and was great at it. So that's not my issue. My issue is a recruit that also just doesn't know the basics is just not good TV.
But what I think you're reading too. Okay, as a player, for sure, it's bad. But as for a TV contestant, this is gold casting. You cannot deny him that. He has dominated this game from start to now.
For a different show. Like, I feel like he's better on a different show, though. I agree with you. He's gold casting. He's good television. But I think for Survivor, it's not the right fit.
For him or for the game? Like, for him, it's like he doesn't need to win the game.
And the viewer. For the game and the viewer.
Let's say I completely disagree. I think everything he's done has made this season what it is. Where would this season be without him is the question. And I just think it would be
shit.
Who knows? Like, it would be almost unwatchable. I
think it would be a different show. I don't think it would be unwatchable because
but it would be so different to what we're seeing.
It's pretty watchable.
If you take Maria out of this cast, it would be a very similar season. If you take Q out, it'd be so different, and we don't know what that could be. That could be 10 times worse. It could be better. We don't know. But let's get back to Q.
But
anyway,
that's how I eulogize it.
Oh, it's Max.
As a player, like I said, had his flaws, extremely hypocritical. When he's got this +1 alliance, and at the merge, Tim wants to vote Hunter out because he's and he's like, no, he's in the alliance, and they vote Tim out, and Tim's also in the alliance. Same thing happens with Tiff. Tiff said, let's get Maria. He says, no, she's in the alliance, and then they vote Tiff out. So he had his he's very hypocritical. He sort of thought it was all about him. Like he had this sort of, I'm the only one playing. I have to do everything, especially early on. And I think sort of into those first few episodes of the merge. And while it probably gets hard to not get caught up in your own game, you have to realize that Survivor's a game where you're playing with 17 other people. You have to sort of give them what they want as well. It's not all about you. You don't have to make every move. I think you have to be adaptable in that way. And you have to realize that other people want to play as well. You can't just keep them on the sidelines and be the main character the whole time. So there's time to take a step forward and time to take a step back. He didn't realize when to take the step back. That was probably his biggest problem. I also thought he was quite revolutionary in his strategy. I think if we saw some intention behind what he was doing with his smokescreen idea, where I'm always the target, use me as this massive shield where you can always vote me out and then vote out everyone else. I thought it was a new way to play the game. It made it extremely easy to flush idols because Q was always a backup. And if you knew that, you could flush an idol whenever you wanted. And we discussed it for 3 weeks in a row on the podcast, and then it's happened 4 times now. So it created this game where people didn't have to be scared of idols, which I think is good for the game, I guess. It's hard to say. As a character, now we sort of half discussed it. I think he's great. I loved his coaching 1-on-1. He'd take Banu aside, teach him things. He did some stuff with Charlie. I like this about him. He's trying to make them better people and better players, despite his own flaws. I just think he added a lot to the season. I love everything about him. He will definitely be remembered as a memorable moment. It's probably that tribal council where he blew up his own game. Like, he was in a good spot until he said, vote me out. And it all unraveled from there. He lost all the respect of everyone. No one really knew what he was doing. And from a game where he came into the merge in the minority, quickly found a majority, and then lost it really quickly because of something he did to himself. There's a player in there for sure. If he can fine-tune himself, he'll be ready for season 50. He might take out season 50 title. We're going to see him again.
One final observation on that vote was I loved that Liz spelled out his full name. We've been calling him Q the whole game, but Quintavious.
Quintavious.
Quintavious
it's a great name.
His full name. Great name. And also, I'd love to point out, you guys won't know this being two straight men, but like there was another Q on a reality show that just missed out on the finale this season. Another drag queen named Q was eliminated in the penultimate episode of Drag Race. So it's interesting that we've had this year two Qs leave just before the finale. It's almost like, these things keep happening that are interesting coincidences.
Q's a losing name.
Q is a losing name. Maybe A or M or B
or J.
Names. Or J. J. There's a lot of J's.
Jay's so many. Voted out on the penultimate episode as well.
In Millennials Gen X. Yeah. True.
It's the one character names. They just don't want
multi-syllable names. That's how you win Survivor.
There you go. Now, guys, all right, let's get to my favorite part of the episode. Buckles' buff of the episode. Where's your buff going? I'm guessing it's going to Q, isn't it, Adam?
No, my buff. I'm gonna give it to Charlie. I think we can't give Charlie too much credit, but I just think that this move benefits him the most. So that's why I'm giving it to Charlie. I don't think he instigated the move. It was very clearly like Kenzie and Liz who had the decision, but I do think Charlie, this helps the most.
Mac?
Yeah, mine was between Kenzie and Charlie. I went with Kenzie because why you say it benefits Charlie the most, I think it also benefits Kenzie. She's sort of watching these two people, even three people if you count Q now, just firing at each other, Charlie and Maria. And she's just sitting in the background and, I think she's going to be last man standing. She comes back from the tribal council. She forgives Ben straight away for voting for her, which you have to be. You have to be congenial with in Survivor. You have to forgive when you don't really want to. She then helps with the Night Terrors re-sealing that bond for sure. Somehow she gets in the middle of this six and she has the power essentially with Liz. Like, we don't see a whole lot from that, but that's how it's portrayed to us. She gets taken on reward. Why not? And I think that sort of sets up the end game for her, Liz and Ben. With this war between Charlie and Maria, they can sort of all three get to the end, and she's the leader of that pack for sure. So Kenzie gets my buff.
So I disagree with both of you. So I'm giving mine to Ben. No, I'm joking. I'm going Kenzie as well. I agree with everything Mac just said, and I just really think this just proves why chances are I think she'll probably end up winning the game. This was a good episode for her. Yes, it wasn't strictly her move, but it was in her ball court to have to lie to one side. She was the swing vote with Liz. She got brought on the reward. We saw all this great stuff with that and just that continued friendship with Ben and Kenzie it is, which brings us to the leaderboard. And for the first time, people are sniffing at Q's top spot.
Ooh,
and we have a three-way tie for the top spot at the moment with Kenzie, Charlie, and Q on 5 buffs apiece.
Love that.
And we know that Q can't win as of next week.
Exactly. So
he might have a great jury speech, but if he's on the jury and decides the winner, perhaps does he get a vote?
I think if Q plays his idol this episode, this is a very different leaderboard on the.
Definitely.
I think even Adam would have to give it to him.
I would have to give it to him. Yeah. He's the only one that played it correctly.
We got Tiffany on 4 points, Maria on 3 points, and Ben, Liz, Tevin, Banu, Tim, and Hunter on 1 point apiece. So
there we go.
Buff. There we go.
Charlie Kenzie. Well, I mean, it's up for grabs really, because if Maria wins, she goes to 6. She jumps to the top. So it's open. It's open for the three favorites going into it. We'll see what happens the next week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Me, you, and Sam Green is coming back with us for the finale episode, which is exciting as all hell because I didn't get to do the finale episode with you two last year. So I'm very excited to finally get the chance to talk to him and be on a podcast with one of my favorite people in the world.
Host of Brisbane Survivor, friend of the podcast, Sam Green. Yeah, it should be exciting. Always a good time with Sam.
Yeah. Adam, what have you got going on? Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I couldn't think of a better way to spend a night with you guys. In terms of what's going on, I'm always tweeting up a storm, and that's at Adam Ritter, ADAMRIDA. In terms of reality shows, I think people should be watching at the moment. I would say Deal or No Deal Island just wrapped up with the Great Boston Rob. So if you are a fan of Boston Rob and you want to watch a Survivor ripoff, no, it's a different show from Survivor. It's more Deal or No Deal meet Survivor. It's a weird show to talk about, but I would recommend watching that. And there's another show as well that's kind of trying to be like The Traitors that's just premiered in the UK called The Fortune Hotel, which is about a group of pairs that try and deceive each other and swap cases and there's, typical challenges and stuff like that. So, yeah, and then I believe so there's always good reality shows to watch if you're looking for something after Survivor finishes next week.
Sweet. And Mac, What have you got going on? How is it in sunny Queensland?
It's beautiful. It's actually, we had a bit of rain lately, so it's a little bit dampening our spirits, but off to Noosa tomorrow till Thursday. It should be a lot of fun. We're leaving my brother and sister-in-law behind. They're coming back home, and we'll continue the travels. Get back Thursday, and Thursday's a huge day because we have the Survivor 46 viewing party at the Agincourt Hotel in the city again. I think all three of us are going to make it. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
We'll perfect. So if you're listening, come along. It's always a good night. We watch the episode together. It's honestly like going to a game of footy. Everyone's cheering and screaming at the TV. It should be a lot of fun. Plenty of beers to be had. Plenty of Survivor alumni there usually. I'm sure there'll be some ex-Australian players there. Maybe some LRG players. You'll see people around the room. Just if you see one of us, come say hi. We're very friendly. Should be a lot of fun. And then on the Sunday after that, 3 days later, it's a huge week coming up. Myself and Buckles, or you Buckles, as I talk to you about it, playing the Amazing Race ALRG game in Sydney City. So that's a lot of fun to happen. I'm sure we'll release something during the week where you can follow that.
Yes.
What do you got up to, Buckles? What's going on with you?
Well, I went the opposite way to you. I went down to cold fucking Melbourne, and
went south.
I'm freezing. Yeah, it's south. Very south.
Rookie mistake, mate. It's winter.
Yeah, I should have stayed in the Gold Coast like I did last weekend.
Yeah, Sydney's been much better.
So, I'm down in Melbourne, catching up with a few Survivor people, some fans, some friends, and that's pretty much it. So my life just revolves around bloody Survivor. I'm looking forward for this season to end, so then it's done. But yeah, as you said, let's catch up. I'll be the tall, loud guy in the corner. So come say hi to me if you're at the Agincourt Hotel on Thursday. And of course, Mac will be there. He's my shadow. He just sort of follows me around.
Yeah, that's right.
But guys, get us on Facebook at Survivor Buffs, Blindsides, and Banter. Get us on Instagram at Survivor_3BS. Get us on Twitter or X at Survivor3BS. On TikTok at Buffs, Blindsides, and Banter, and Instagram at Buffs, Blindsides, and Banter.
Too much stuff.
Remember, Sam Green next week. It's going to be amazing. I've been Buckles. He's been Mac. You've been Ridded. Thanks, guys.
Ridded.